Hey y'all, Auntie's back. So I'm multitasking today. I'm going to be making the pocket for the dress I was working on all wrestling season, track season, tennis season. So I'm doing this like a hoodie type of pocket for the front of it. Anyway, happy Thursday. I missed y'all last week. Thank you for your patience. Life has been happening. So today I was sitting here reflecting and I was thinking about when my kids started dating. Now, I'm going to talk about some things that will probably make people uncomfortable, and that's okay. Not everybody is going to agree with me, and that's okay. But when my kids were born, crazy enough, I did not get a manual at all when they were born. I just had to go off of my life experience, a very young life experience. Now, I was very much so a if they can't use your comb, don't bring them home type of mother. Um, but not for the reasons you would think. Now, stick with me now. Stay with me. I, deep inside, do not care about the color of the person my children date or marry. But initially, I always had this strong feeling of I want you to inherently know who you are before you go off into the world and someone tells you who you are. So, really, when you're dating and you're young and you're dating, I feel like you're still getting to know who you are. And I wanted, especially for my sons, for them to walk in the relationship with confidence of their own cultural identity. I did not want somebody from a different experience and a different lens telling my son their ideal of blackness. I also did not want that for my daughters, but my daughters were like right up under me. So I felt like I I gave them a little more in that area. Um, Again, it, it's not about hate or fear of another culture, another race. Not at all. Um, and they grew up in all different areas. They grew up in Washington State and Colorado and Ohio and now the DMV for the younger ones. I just um, always want my kids to be just kind of strong in their identity. Um, that's all. Again, if you don't really know who you are, somebody's going to tell you who you are. That's just has been my experience. I was younger when I started having kids, but I'm no longer young. Not to that degree. So I got to live a little bit. I got to see a little bit. And I just wanted my kids to experience their own roots through the lens of people who have had some of the same experiences before they went out into different waters. Now, I still really hold fast to some of the opinions that I had originally. I asked my son once, do you really want your girlfriend from another culture telling you about black oppression? Or, your boyfriend from another culture telling you about black resiliency? I just, I want you to have an understanding. I want us to have common ground. Um, but I wanted them to have that root without outside opinions. Um, and I've always wanted my children to be proud of their lineage, proud of the heritage, of the strength of our people, um, as an African American race. That's just how I was raised. I was raised, know yourself first. And so I grew up with an aunt who was married to an Italian man, and I loved, my aunt and uncle. Like it just wasn't it wasn't an issue of him being from another race for me. I was a little kid, so it just didn't make any difference to me. But as I got older, I noticed not only with their dynamic, but other interracial relationship dynamics that, like all relationships, they come with layers. But their layers, of course, had some different dynamics than, um, what I had in my own home. So that was something else that I looked at. You know, when you are young and you start dating, you're learning yourself and how you are with others and this whole one layer. But then you have to add other things too. And I was like, that's just a lot all at once. Why would I want them to experience so much so soon? So, you know, that was another thought process that I had when they were growing up. Not that I could control it, not that I could even stop it, but I did give them my opinion of, you know, what I thought would be best for them starting out. So, being that my first husband was military, put me in relationship with a lot of different people. And so there were plenty of interracial relationships, um, that I knew about. So, some where the woman was black, some where the man was black, neither one of them was black. Some were, Asian and a different race or whatever the case may be. But there was this one couple that my son was friends with their son. They all wrestled together and whatnot. And she asked me about my opinion. I gave her pretty much what I just said to you guys, and she was very offended. She's like, that's BS, and how dare you put that type of segregated mindset in your child's head? It was just like, well, they're not very segregated. He's friends with your kids, but and again, it wasn't about a separatist mentality. It was about the here and now of what I'm dealing with the age group right now, not forever. Because again, I can't pick my children's significant others. I can just have an opinion. But she was really mad. She was she was really I have the ability to just get under people's skin when I tell them my opinion. Honestly, I wasn't upset with her for being upset about my opinion. I understood then, and I understand now that race is a controversial topic, and it's very personal for most of us. So people, they hear through their own experiences most of the time. So since she was in a interracial relationship, she came with her own wounds, and my honesty about how I felt pricked a wound. So I get that. I get that. Um, and now that I've gotten older, I think that um, the way I express myself is differently, so it can come across differently. I can be a little more sensitive with how I deliver my thought process, and then it can change the impact. It doesn't always hit the same way though. So fast forwarding, my son is grown now. The My only born son is grown now, and he's in college. So we're on the phone, and he brings up a conversation that we had about this very topic um, when he was younger. Now, when we first had this conversation, he was extremely annoyed with the whole conversation, everything about it. And so I figured that he, wasn't listening. In the conversation that we were having, he says to me, I know it didn't seem like I was absorbing what you were saying, but I did. And I'm glad that you presented it that way for me. So the way he explained it was he's glad that he had the opportunity to experience what it was like dating in his own culture before he went off to college. Now, he did not necessarily listen to the way I said do it, but it's his life. And so he said, I dated different cultures, and I found that certain conversations were easier to have. Certain perspectives were um, better understood when I had them with certain people. So he gave me the feedback because of course now I have my bonus son and I have two more teenage girls, and he was explaining to me that from his perspective what dating is like in that generation. I'm glad that I followed my gut and talked to him about the things that I talked to him about before he went off to college, before he um, started experiencing different cultures in different states. And it felt good that he understood. I never want to control who you love, um, but I want you to understand yourself in every circumstance. And this was one of them. And honestly, I think um, that just is across the board. In every circumstance, you need to know who you are and your limitations. And it's going to help you get you through the bigger picture. It's again not about who you love, it's about who you are. And that needs to be inherent in your brain. What I want all my children to carry with them is not just their cultural identity and foundation. I want them to know themselves as a Christian, as a male or female, as a human being, have character, have identity, that foundation of just who you are, and carry that with you through your life and help other people be proud of who they are and walk in integrity. So, in my reflection, I'm glad that my children hear the heartfelt intent of what I have tried to teach them and am teaching them now. And I'm proud of who my children are. I really am. I am. And, you know, what I'm teaching them, I'd rather them learn from me than learn the hard way. So I hope you enjoyed my little reflection today, and add to the conversation. Tell me what you think. Tell me your opinion, and I will see you next time. Okay? Mwah.